Toronto Mayor Rob Ford is never far away from controversy. That has become abundantly clear. Allegations of crack use caught on tape, conflict of interest claims, supposedly appearing to have a drinking problem, and we haven't even touched on his contentious relationship with Toronto City Council. Yet the mayor of Canada's largest city keeps trucking on. In fact, recent polls indicate that his popularity is on the rise. But how much smoke does there have to be around Mayor Ford before somebody gets burned by the fire? Now, Toronto Sun reporter Chris Doucette is reporting new details of the mayor's connection to a drug trafficker. Chris joins us now from Toronto. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning, Brian.
Well, this is a Sun News exclusive that you're bringing to us today. What can you tell us about these latest shocking allegations involving Mayor Ford?
Well, this was a story that we actually learned about a little over a year ago, I guess, early last year, my apologies. That at the time, it was obviously troubling. We knew that the mayor's sister's ex-boyfriend had burst into the mayor's home and that there had been some sort of dispute, and that this man, Scott McIntyre, had left the house and hours later was arrested by police and at the time allegedly had drugs in his possession. So it raised some eyebrows at the time, but we didn't know what was said in that dispute or what the dispute was over, really. And obviously now, in light of what's happened in recent months, we now have some new details. After the crack video scandal sort of erupted, I went to the courts and applied for the transcript to Mr. McIntyre's proceedings to his guilty plea ultimately last year. And we have now some context to that dispute of what happened in that house when he confronted the mayor and some of the words that were exchanged, which now, from everything that's happened in the last few months, raises all sorts of questions. We've got this, convicted drug trafficker, and an admitted drug addict in the mayor's house, yelling at the mayor, saying, "You owe me money. Your sister owes me money, and if I don't get it, they're going to kill me." That's pretty frightening stuff when you put it all together.
No question, Chris. And it's not hard to draw some lines here to connect what's been going on in the mayor's life, or allegedly going on in the mayor's life, and what has now gone onto the record in the courts. What do you make of all this? I mean, the fact that the mayor of Canada's largest city is continually involved in stuff that can only be said to be salacious.
Well, as you said, that's exactly what the media has been doing, with the police not being very helpful, trying to protect their evidence in their investigation into a drug and gun case out in the West End, in Etobicoke, and not clarifying whether or not the mayor is involved in that investigation. And we also know that the mayor in the past has lied about allegations, or at least initially lied and then later claimed he had forgotten, specifically his drug charge in Florida in the 90s. So we're left in the media to connect these dots and try and put it together ourselves and try and get to the bottom of things and the truth. And when you see one thing after another, one thing on its own maybe could be explained away, two or three things maybe, but you start to see one after another, and it's exactly like you said. You start to think of that old expression, where there's smoke, there's fire, right?
No question. It just boggles the mind if you listen to polls, and polls can be somewhat taken in a different light, but his popularity, Mayor Ford's popularity, seems to be on the rise. Given what we know and what supposedly has been going on in the mayor's life and all that, plus the turmoil that's going on at City Council, how do you account for a rise in popularity?
I don't know if you can. It's almost unexplainable to some extent, Brian. He's always been a very polarizing mayor. People either really love him or really dislike him, and that continues to be the case. I think you have a good majority of people who seem to be able to read between the lines and connect the dots and have a lot of questions about what's been happening. And then you got a whole lot of other people who I don't think would ever turn their backs on the mayor. People who have flat out said, "I don't care if he smokes crack." They're so I guess wrapped up in the idea that he's saving them money, whether he is or not. They believe it, and that's enough for them, and they couldn't care about anything else. It's really astonishing. I don't know that we've ever seen anything like this in Toronto.
It's kind of interesting to watch as an experiment, but at the same token, there are some real issues to deal with here. And one of them is the perception of Toronto as a city. I mean, we can get into another attack about the police and the public and that relationship and how that's altered the perception of Toronto. But the face of the city is long said to be the mayor, and that face has been a controversial one. Chris, how do you think that from an external point of view, people are looking at Toronto and when they see these stories coming out about our mayor? Nothing's really stuck to him, but still the stories are always there.
Yeah, it certainly can't be good, right? I mean, I can only imagine what people are thinking, Brian, because they see all sorts of, rumor and innuendo online, and it's, you can't have, if we have to get to the truth here, because if our mayor is addicted to drugs or is smoking crack or, has substance abuse issues, you can't have the mayor of a city like Toronto, running a city while having those issues. And it does reflect badly on all of us at the end of the day. And I mean, that has to be dealt with. We need to know the truth.
Well, Chris, if people want to read the truth, they can read your column online and in The Sun today. It's quite a story, Chris, and I know there's going to be more to come. Thanks for this.
Thanks, Brian.
All right, that's Chris Doucette, Toronto Sun reporter. You can read his incredibly exclusive article online and at the Sun News website, or just pick up one of the papers from your nearest Sun News box.